Way back when the treaties were signed, an elder by the name of Red Bear may have joined a non-native person from the government treaty signers who had his own agenda. An agenda that is still working to this day to keep the dirty Indians from ever taking back their land. Native people have worried about the land since the beginning of their existence. They did not believe that the land belonged to anyone. The land is there for whoever needs it. Mother Earth was never for sale or had a monetary value to any tribe. The government, however, had their own value system that put great insistence on ownership of land. They believed that the land belonged to the Indian tribes and that the sale of it would mean prosperity for their people. However, the Indians were reluctant to share the land with the non-natives because they had seen what the non-natives do to it.
First of all, how is the Native Secret Society, the NSS, funded?
You may have noticed in the past 15 years that much money has gone missing from bank funds allocated for various programs and departments.
How can this happen if the bands are the ones allocated this funding?
The NSS had their hands into everything. Some of this activity has only recently been discovered by audits from the federal government.
Have any names been named?
No. Usually the band membership is blamed and is easily done because the money missing causes a great distrust among the leadership. Thus, they only blame each other.
I see. Now that we have established the funding, which we will go back to later, I would like to know how these NSS members keep the native population in such a low state of existence.
It will be hard to believe what I have to say. Many years have gone by with people like yourself thinking native people are in control of their destiny. The fact is, they are not. Bringing out the truth may be the only chance we have as a nation.
What was so bad about non-native activities? Weren't they here to enlighten us and help us become part of normal civilization?
Comments like that are going to end this interview. I'm trying to tell you the truth about native bad corruption, and they want to spew garbage. They want you to believe. Maybe this interview is a mistake. Maybe you're one of them.
No. I don't mean it the way it sounded. I want to hear the truth. I believe it needs to come out. I meant that maybe the government wanted to at least give something back.
The government would have done well to kill us outright than to play to the compassion of the chiefs that were signing, making it sound like they were doing us a favor. Right from the treaty signing, the government knew what they were doing, especially the NSS. There was an NSS in every party, every treaty party, and they pushed their agenda to maintain their empowerment by keeping us down. It kept them in a state of power they wouldn't have if we were all killed. The NSS cannot exist without native people in such a low level of depravity. This is why they recruited certain native people that can vote from the inside. Elder Red Bear, Beanwood from Treaty 6. The other areas had their own recruits. Except for the East and West Coast tribes, they were caught too early by the government, and the NSS had to act fast to infiltrate the prairie tribes. There were many in the treaty parties that either wanted to kill us all or keep more land, or help us keep more land. The NSS needed us alive, but not to have any power over ourselves.
In this day and age, why would the NSS need to exist? What purpose do they have now?
The NSS have been wrought with trouble in the past 3 decades. The 80s marked a boom in native rights. The 60s and 70s were tough, but real Indian power started to come to the forefront in the 80s.
But why is the NSS still in existence?
Because they don't want to let go of their power. They are not as prominent as they used to be. But like the KKK, they have many old beliefs that keep their organization
And what belief
going.
is that?
That Indians are a low form of human existence and need to be kept around to raise the esteem of the non-native population. Back in the day before treaties, native people are strong and independent. They were the dominant race. They controlled much of the landscape, and diseases have not gotten hold of them yet. The non-native population felt inferior to the Indians and were in fear of them much of the time.
But that's not the case today, is it? Even the KKK is losing prominence regarding their message about the blacks and Jews.
The KKK is just following a tradition of hate and disdain, but they cannot infiltrate the blacks or Jews because they hate them too much. The NSS needs to keep Indians down, but at the same time, keep them alive to nourish the egos of the non-native population. A KK member would rather have all the other races dead so they can claim absolute dominance over the earth they believe belongs to them. The NSS is outdated for sure. However, they need to feed their egos by keeping the Indians down. They have like-minded native people on their side to help keep that dependence to government going.
What do you mean? The government is there to help the poverty-stricken native people.
First Nations people have become a nation of spoon-fed brats that have it in their head that they are owed something. They complain about everything, always wanting more and are never satisfied. This needy mentality was planted by the NSS. Native people owe to themselves to be more independent, more self-sustaining. A few people have broken away, and that is great. Many are doing well and staying on reserve to contribute to their band membership, but there are still too many people on the low side.
How about band leadership? Isn't there something they
The
can do?
native leaders, the native leadership is who I'm talking about. They are too greedy. They waste much of their funding on personal travel and accommodating their own family members with jobs and other assistance not afforded to the rest of the membership. Many chiefs are in fact making more money than the Prime Minister of this country. Think about that. The Prime Minister, who is responsible and held accountable to the entire country, is getting paid less than a chief who is irresponsible and unaccountable to less than 1,000 people on a small piece of land. Many of the chiefs know something about the NSS or have heard something pertaining to their existence. The chiefs want to prove to the ruling NSS group that they will not be held down or be seen as low level, poverty-stricken savages. So they pump up their standard of living at the expense of the people they're supposed to be helping. This was actually helping the NSS with their agenda, keeping Indians down. Back in the day, Chief and Council did not receive money for their services. They did what they could for their people and spoke for their people and were very proud. The NSS did not like this pride and set out to establish honorariums to the leadership so that they would end up oppressing their own people and to actuate at the pride of native leadership.
Alright, speaking of the federal government, isn't there anything they can do to the NSS? After all, they provide the funding through tax dollars.
Have you been listening? The NSS started in the federal government. Senators, members of parliament, the Canadian ministry, parliamentary secretaries, all have one or more members of the NSS in each of them. The actual native members of this society are merely pawns to the higher-ups in this country. The NSS relishes in the fact that Indians are doing their job of keeping native people down. The fact of the matter is, our leaders are letting us down and only helping themselves.
Well, what about the First Nations people getting their education? Are they safe, or are they still victims?
The Indians that are getting educated and leaving the reserve are seen as backstabbers to the reserve people and to the NSS. The NSS sees them as wannabe Indians who got away from them. This is why the 80s were bad for the NSS, because First Nations people wanted control over their own education with band schools. Band schools have paved the way for Indians to get an education and leave the reserve system to be more independent. The NSS could not stop the bands at that time because they were so sure that their future power would be sustained the way it always was. They relaxed a bit and let this huge change take place, and they regretted it ever since. But because the NSS has roots in the Canadian government, they can count on racial limitations as denial of endorsement of Prime Minister. The NSS can count on the rest of Parliament to keep the Indians out because Indians will suddenly be lifted from their low-level view of themselves. If it happened, the NSS would crumble. You should have more than enough information that I should have given you. Let's stop this interview before it's too late. Wait, there's somebody.
What's going on? Who's there with you?
Save the video file, cut out all the history, connecting you. I'm destroying this computer.